It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. You're listening to us in your neighborhood, from coast to coast, and around the world. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joan Herman, author, speaker, and your host. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. Joining me is author and psychotherapist Thomas Moore. Thomas has written numerous books on spirituality, including Writing in the Sand, Soulmates, Life at Work, and the New York Times bestseller, Care of the Soul. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks very much, John.
Tom, let's begin by talking about one's life path. You've written about obedience to one's calling, and you believe that it's okay for us to make changes throughout our life. Looking at your journey, which began with a call to the priesthood, you've since worked as a musician, university professor, a psychotherapist, writer, and a speaker. How do we know what we're called to do? I did an interview with Gay Hendricks, who suggested that it's within our zone of genius, where we love what we do and we would do it for free if we could. Is that a vocation calling?
I think it's one sign when you're not fighting yourself in the work you do. I think that's part of it. But I think there's something else, because I distinguish a job and work from a life work. It seems to me there's something that we're called to do throughout our life, but it does change. I think for most people you'd find something that's constant at a deep level as you go. I mean, I started out, it's true, thinking I'd become a Catholic priest. And I gave that up, and it was quite a big thing to leave that behind.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, right now, I still am invited to speak in churches. I'm not a priest, but I still stand in pulpits and talk about the soul and spirit. So, I mean, it's the same work in a way, but the externals are very different from what I anticipated those many years ago.
Is it okay for us to make these types of changes in our life?
Well, I think you have to. If you don't, you get stuck in one place, and you might feel depressed, or you might feel that things just aren't working, because life. One thing about life, it seems to me, is that it keeps moving on. It's like a river, they say. It just keeps flowing. And if you don't keep moving, I think that's when you end up with trouble. So, I mean, you can be at the same job for many years, but unless it's a living job and things do change and life is moving along, I think that probably you'd feel pretty frustrated at it.
And it's when we stop growing and evolving as human beings.
Yeah, so it's like an evolution. We're always unfolding. I like that word sometimes. We're always unfolding. And that's something that is not always easy, because, it's nice to be in a place where you feel comfortable and secure, and then the opportunity comes along to move on. In my own life, I was fired from a couple positions, and it seemed terrible at the time. I didn't know what was going to happen next. But when I look back on it, I realized that this so-called bad experience really moved me along.
So it's true what they say: when one door closes, another one does open up for us.
Well, I wouldn't say it happens all the time, but I think it does happen. You have to look at what's happening in your life and see how you need to adjust. I think these are challenges. I don't want to make this sound too easy. When those opportunities come along, they may not look like opportunities, and there may be some struggle and a strong feeling of loss and confusion. And so the point is to be able to know yourself at a deep level, to see what your heart wants at that depth.
We so often hear the phrase mind, body, and spirit. However, you believe that the soul is missing in that statement. And how does your approach differ, and what is the difference between the spirit and the soul?
Well, that's a really huge topic, but they are different. And I'm just following very old traditions going back thousands of years that say this. This idea of mind, body, spirit is very recent. Well, the soul is that part of us that's very deep. That's the word usually used for centuries. So our depth of feeling, the deep thoughts we have, deep experiences, deep relationships, being attached to your home, to the region where you live, to your work, to even to objects like to a machine or to your car. These are all aspects of the soul. Falling in love, that's part of it. The spirit, on the other hand, is not so deep down. It's more that thing, that part of us that makes us move ahead and move into the future and have ideals and kind of get off the earth and have a cosmic sense. So religions are often focusing on spirit. They like to talk about afterlife and the creation of the world and the huge big picture. So that's the spirit realm, and the soul is a small picture. It's the picture of your own daily life and your relationships.
And you talk about a person being comprised of the spirit, the soul, the body, and the world. What are the other two elements, the body and the world? What do they mean?
Well, the body just means either the physical body or just living in a physical world, the body of the world. We don't want to overlook the fact that we're not just a soul and not just a spirit, but we are also a body. And our bodies get sick, and our bodies need attention, and we have to eat. And, body is very important, obviously. So the body is part of us, although it's related to the soul and spirit. So I don't want to separate those two. So in my recent work in medicine, I've been trying to talk to doctors and nurses especially about never treating the human body as though it were not a person. A body is always part of the total person. So that's an important connection, I think, to make. When I add the word world because as I've been visiting hospitals with my work recently, I've been talking to people who are in hospitals, and I realize that part of what defines them is their world. That means the work they do, the place where they live, the way they normally carry on their activities. When they go to a hospital, that world is taken away from them in a way. It's not theirs anymore, and they really feel the absence of it.
Tom, what does it mean for us to care for our soul?
Well, it's the soul is, as I said, is this very delicate, deep part of ourselves. Someone recently wrote to me, said they read Care of the Soul, and they said it meant so much to them to realize that they have a soul, that they're a person who is individual, unique, and has some depth and has delicate feelings and has a lot of thoughts that are important and relationships and memories. So all of that material together is the soul. Now, caring for that means to give attention to our home to start with. I think home is a very important part of the life of the soul. So you take care of your home, however big or small it is. You give it some attention. You make it comfortable. You allow it to give you a sense of security and comfort, a place to go when you're out there in the world to come back to, a place to have your friends over. And there's a long tradition that caring for the soul also involves giving attention to your friends. Friendship is a very important part of the life of the soul. So you can go on and on talking about these things that are part of the soul life that can be neglected because we get so wrapped up in making money or moving into the future or concentrating on things that aren't so interior and so delicate.
So the soul, in essence, is really just the deep part of who we are, what makes us who we are.
Yes, in fact, Aristotle said that. Well, the philosopher, he said that the soul of an axe. That's the example he gave. The soul of an axe is what makes it an axe. So the soul of a person is what makes that person who he or she is.
And that's the part that we seem to forget for whatever reason.
Yes, we forget it. Well, the culture around us doesn't give much attention to the soul anymore. I mean, we were talking a few minutes ago. Everyone's talking about mind, body, spirit. They don't realize they've left out maybe the most important ingredient of all. So we just ignore it. I think we take it for granted and don't realize that it requires constant care.
Now, Tom, referring to the statement, a soulful life is never without shadow, and some of the soul's power comes from its shadow qualities. How do the shadows of life, the trials, the challenges, how does that help our soul?
Oh, in lots of ways. Let's say you're going along smoothly and nothing is wrong. You can get quite unconscious in that state, and years can go by and nothing seems to happen, and you don't move anywhere as a person. But as soon as as trouble comes along, a conflict or something you have to deal with, a challenge, let's say you do lose a job or you get sick or something of that sort, well, then suddenly you got to look and say, well, who am I and what's this all about and what's important to me? So that these bad times can be very useful. I don't mean to say that we should look for them and hope that we have bad times. Not at all. But you can see that in almost every life there is some challenge and difficulty, and they certainly have a place.
Now, Tom, we may have many listeners who are going through some sort of a personal transformation, and they may feel like they're just coming to life for the first time. How can these people really awaken themselves and push further and further? What type of nourishment do they need to accomplish this?
Well, they can use a lot of things if they're waking up. I meet a lot of people like that who said they've lived unconsciously for a long time, and suddenly they realize that they want to really live, and time is passing by, and they want to make something of their lives. And they don't know exactly what to do next. I think one thing they do very frequently is take a look at the work they're doing. I mean, the job. What kind of work it is. Is it work that satisfies them? Are they just going through the motions? Are they just working for a paycheck? And a lot of people, when they begin to wake up, actually move into a different line of work, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, of course, it's even more difficult because it becomes a challenge to their family or to their marriage. Because in marriage is often it's the case that one person begins to wake up and the other one doesn't. So it's a challenge sometimes when you wake up. It helps to have, to get a little education about things, to do some reading and attend some workshops or lectures, that kind of thing, to get some help. Some people, really helps to go into therapy. And of course, that's what I do therapy with people. And I can, I see them waking up and help guide them through it. So those things can be done. And then the other thing that I always go back to is that if you can rely on a few close friends, so you can talk about what's going on openly and know that you're going to get some support. That's also a very important part of it. And notice nature helps a great deal, to notice how nature works, how it, you go through winter and then springtime comes along and you see the rhythms of nature and you realize that you're part of nature. That can be supportive. And just going out into nature can be useful, to get away from things and to be inspired and to be supported by the natural world.
Tom, do you think as human beings that on some level we're afraid to find inner peace?
Oh, yes. My feeling as a psychotherapist is that most people that come to me who are in trouble are not afraid of dying. They're not afraid of death. They're afraid of living. They're really afraid of life because maybe so far they've been able to keep it rather, under a lid and not too challenging. But they realize sometimes people wake up and they realize that if they really want to live, they have to change, make some big changes in life, and take it on and really become a more active person and get involved in the world. So yes, I think that there is the feeling that to be alive is too difficult, and that's something people have to get over.
You also talk about something which people tend to just believe is for the children, but you say that imagination in life is everything, and that it's actually the most important power we have. I like to believe that I'm a pretty imaginative, creative person, but sometimes I'm written off as just being a dreamer who isn't practical. So how can we let go of this societal perception to give us this power?
Well, one way I have found with that is just to look at the lives of people I admire. So many artists and writers and thinkers have been very imaginative and intuitive. And when you study their lives, you see that they had to be faithful to their vision throughout their life, that they were criticized, they were misunderstood, they were rejected in so many different ways. I mean, that's almost the typical story of some of the greatest people that have lived. So to me, at least, that gives me some support. I realize that being in this world and being an imaginative person and never being satisfied with all these pat answers you get all over the place. That is challenging, but it makes you feel like you're alive, and you know that you're living your own life and not somebody else's life. That's also a very important part of it.
Tom, if our listeners would like to get more information about your work, what website can they visit?
careofthesoul.net has everything on it that I'm doing right now.
Tom, it's been a pleasure having you here, and I wish you much success with your work.
Thank you, Joan. I enjoyed it very much.
We'll be right back.
It's time for this week's Medical Minutes. Joining me today is Dr. Stuart Fleischman, author of Learn to Live Through Cancer, What You Need to Know and Do. Welcome, Dr. Fleischman. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Fleischman, a total of 1,638,910 new cancer cases are projected to occur in the United States this year. Is that a number that's steadily increasing?
Well, that number is increasing because the public health message that the field has been pushing for many years is effective. People are getting screened earlier. They're getting diagnosed earlier. More and more people are going for treatment because in many cancers, not all, unfortunately, but in many cancers, treatment is more effective. And the numbers show that there are about 12 million cancer survivors currently in the United States today, and it's projected that by the year 2022, that number will reach 22 million Americans.
So early detection, going for those physical checkups, that is really the key. Is that why, although the number is on the rise, people are not dying because we're catching it earlier? Is that the key to survival?
Well, it's a combination of things. It's going for the checkups as well as getting the screening tests, mammograms or PSAs for men with prostate cancer. The age to start, the age to stop, the interval between them is controversial, but those tests save lives.
Dr. Fleischman, is it becoming somewhat of a chronic condition? I mean, just something we're learning to live with?
Well, that's true for many cancers, that people live a very long time and will often die of something else not related to the cancer or their treatment.
What types of cancers are really, in your opinion, preventable today?
Well, the issue about tobacco products and smoking is rather clear, and those products actually can affect not only lung cancer, but head and neck cancers, cancers in the esophagus, cancers of the bladder. That's a real big one. There's more and more evidence as time goes by that being significantly overweight because of the risk of retaining more hormones can actually promote the diagnosis or the development of breast cancer or prostate cancer, which are hormonally dependent cancers. So being overweight significantly, smoking, secondhand smoke, or toxic chemicals that are known to be connected to the development of cancer are two of the big public health issues that can actually make a difference in the amount of cancer we're seeing in future generations.
Doctor, hearing those words, you have cancer, those are probably some of the scariest words that most of us fear that one day we will hear. What is something that someone needs to do, the first thing that someone needs to do when they hear those words, you have cancer?
When you're hearing those words, you shouldn't be alone. You should be with someone. You should be with someone who you trust to ask a whole lot of questions and take a lot of good notes. Because once those words are uttered, study after study shows that even the brightest, most intelligent, most tuned-in people remember very little of what's said next. So having somebody there to listen and ask questions is a good idea. The next thing to do is to take a deep breath and to really learn about the situation. Because although it seems like you need to do something yesterday or even sooner, most people and most situations in which cancer is diagnosed, there's a little bit of time. And during that time, getting a second opinion, unless it's an emergency, is vital. And that second opinion will make sure that you and your family know that you're on the right track for you and your situation and your type of cancer.
What would you say are some questions that a patient should always ask in the beginning?
Well, at the beginning is, what kind of cancer is it? If enough testing has been done, what stage is it? Where is it gone? And what is the best treatment plan with the information that we have now? Sometimes more tests need to be done. And sometimes the treatment plan isn't evident right at the beginning.
How important is it for us to treat the whole person, not just the physical, but the emotional and spiritual parts?
Well, I'm biased when it comes to this issue because I believe that cancer doesn't happen in a vacuum. It affects oneself to the core. It affects the way you live your life. It affects the choices you make at that moment. It affects your family. It affects your work. It affects all the things that you do that are important for sustenance and for fun and for existential and spiritual issues. So the multidisciplinary team can actually help cover all the bases.
In your research, have you seen a correlation between healing with patients that are more spiritual than those that are not?
Well, that's also somewhat controversial because in American medicine we used to put spirituality on the side thinking that that was too personal and that's something that didn't belong in medicine. We now understand that to heal the body, our minds and our spirits need to be in the best place possible. So spirituality certainly has more and more of a role in hospitals and in treatment for illnesses, especially cancer treatment. It's thought to be really, really important in the healing process.
What are a couple of things that you would like our listeners to remember from this interview, the most important things?
Well, the most important things are have a plan, and you often need somebody with you at the beginning, and then I really do encourage people to work on getting better right from the time of diagnosis so they're not so spent at the end, they're not so fatigued, they haven't gained or lost too much weight, and they're not so frightened. You can spend your time controlling the things that you can control, how much you're exercising, what you're eating, what you're doing, and what you're learning in order to come out as whole as possible.
Dr. Fleischman, if our listeners would like to get more information about you, where can they go?
The website is cancerknowanddo.com and on Facebook at Cancer Know and Do.
Doctor, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Cancer is a major public health concern, and it's something that's very scary to all of us. And I think the information that you've provided here today will help to empower so many people. So thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.
Are you having trouble getting your Z's? You are not alone. In fact, 60 million adults struggle with insomnia in the United States each year. I'm Dr. Lynn Corrigan, an anti-aging and regenerative medicine physician with the Active Center for Health and Wellness in Hackensack, New Jersey. Sleep is a cornerstone of health, and most people who have chronic insomnia are at increased risk for cardiovascular disease, obesity, and even diabetes. Even though many medical and social factors can lead to insomnia, the mainstay conventional treatment is still based on the sedative medications. These sedatives are not without problems. Dependence on them and rebound effects are known to cause insomnia. So what can you do to get a good night's sleep? Get regular exercise and make a point to relax every day. Limit the use of caffeine and alcohol, and don't work or watch TV in bed. Alternatives to sleep medications are melatonin and valerian root. Melatonin is a hormone that regulates sleep and dreaming and has anti-inflammatory effects. A growing number of studies suggest that melatonin may have cancer-fighting properties also. The sustained release forms are more likely to maintain good levels throughout the night. Valerian root is a botanical that does not impair movement or thinking abilities. It is not addictive, but may require weeks of nightly use before it produces an effect. It is available as a tea. For more information, visit us on the web at theactivecenter.com.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that this information is for educational purposes only and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, you can visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, take part in the book club, sign up for the mailing list, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.